They say Whitby begins with the sea. Long before the cafes and cobbled lanes, before the harbour filled with voices and footsteps, there was only wind, tide, and cliff. The North Sea carving its rhythm into the Yorkshire coast. Storms have battered these shores. Ships have come and gone. Generations have stood at this water's edge, watching the same horizon. Today, that rhythm still moves through the town. At street level, Whitby feels close and human. The smell of salt in the air, fishing boats shifting gently in the harbour, seagulls calling overhead. The river Esk, dividing old town from new, connected by a bridge that opens for passing vessels as it has for generations. Shops open their doors to the morning light, nets dry along the quay, footsteps echo softly against old stone. This is the town that works, that lives, that remembers. And above it all, watching from the cliffs, stands Whitby Abbey. Founded in 657 AD, it was once one of the great religious centers of Anglo-Saxon England. Kings and scholars gathered here. Faith shaped these stones. Then came the 16th century and the dissolution of monasteries. The abbey was abandoned, its roof lost to time, its walls surrendered to sea wind. Yet in ruin, it became something else. A silhouette, a landmark, a story waiting to be told. There are 199 steps that rise from Old Town to Abbey and St. Mary's Church. Locals say if you count them carefully, you are destined to return. Whitby inspires that kind of belief. Along the cliffs, fossils lie embedded in the rock. Ammonites nearly 200 million years old. Legend tells that St. Hilda turned a plague of snakes to stone, casting them from the headland. Their coil-shaped remains in the cliff, proof, perhaps, that myth and geology can share the same ground. By the 18th century, Whitby focus turned fully to the sea. It became one of Britain's leading whaling ports. Ships sailed into Arctic waters and returned with oil and bone that fueled industry across the country. Georgian houses rose along the harbour. Shipyard rang with work. Among the apprentices, there was a young James Cook. Before he charted the Pacific Ocean, he learned navigation and seamanship in Whitby. The sturdy vessels that carried him around the world were built in this very town. From these docks, exploration began. But Whitby's most enduring legend arrived quietly. In 1890, Bram Stoker visited the town. He walked the streets, climbed the steps to the graveyard overlooking the sea. stood beneath the abbey ruins. 7 years later, he published Dracula, and in its pages, a storm-wrecked ship runs aground on Whitby's shore. Since then, the town has carried a gothic atmosphere. Dramatic skies, dark stone, long shadows. Even Whitby jet, a fossil wood formed over millions of years, became famous in Victorian mooring jewelry. Polished black, elegant and enduring. And yet, Whitby is not a town of darkness. Children race along the harbour walls. Ice cream melts in the afternoon sun. Visitors climb the 199 steps laughing halfway up. Fishing boats still leave at dawn. Cafes hum with conversation. Windows glow gently as day begins to fade. The scent of salt and warm batter drips through the evening air. As evening falls, the abbey softens in the amber light. The sea quiets. The air cools. Lights flicker on along the quay, reflected in the water like small constellations. And for a moment, everything feels still, steady, and quietly hopeful. Whitby holds centuries without feeling heavy. It carries saints and sailors, explorers and storytellers, but it also carries warmth. Because beyond the legends, beyond the ruins and the myths, there is always the sea. Constant, wide, open. As we turn towards the vast horizon, where water meets sky, Whitby feels less like an ending and more like a beginning. Thank you for watching.